Tickets are on sale right now for my upcoming live show. That's right, it's that time in every YouTuber's career when they start to think for some reason having a following online means they're qualified to do stand-up. Not me though. I'm doing it in the self-aware way. Come see the face behind the frog at the Regent Theater in downtown LA on December 10th. Click the link in the description to get your ticket before they're gone.
The performative male, camouflage creep of the concrete jungle. You might have spotted these specimens at your local coffee shop, matcha in hand, as they pretend to peruse feminist literature. With their labubu securely carabined to their oversized thrifted shorts, they cheat out towards an unwitting audience of a meet-cute rom-com missing its leading lady. Desperate for attention, these pathetic posers... Aw, fuck! Alright, camera is going, audio is good, testing, okay. Time to perform. While videos about the performative male have been circulating since 2024, the label really started to trend this past summer. Comedy skits have been rolling in, Get Ready With Me's recorded safely behind several layers of self-awareness. Crowds gathered together for performative male contests in cities across the world. Houston, New York City, Chicago, Seattle, Toronto, Ottawa, Sydney, Jakarta. This trend has transcended borders and language barriers, uniting communities in ways we haven't seen since Kendall Jenner handed that cop an ice-cold Pepsi. How to become a performative male? No one knows the last one. Okay, let's see. Matcha, Claro, have a good credit score. Oh, this is an ad. You know, online discourse is at peak freshness when a paralegal over at Consumer Justice has a great idea for a video. Only the newest news and trendiest topics on this channel, but even traditional media outlets have caught up to this conversation before me, indicating that it might not be just another set of jangling keys holding our collective attention for a week, but a term that's steadily entrenching itself into our vocabulary. The New York Times, The Washington Post, Forbes, The Guardian, reduced to TikTok translators for your parents. Somewhere, there's an editor-in-chief day drinking while working remote with his head turned towards the ceiling of his penthouse screaming, "God! I wish there was another war so we could talk about something normal!" What actually is a performative male, though? If you're asking yourself this question, all you need to know is that I would do anything to trade places with you, to frolic through the field of daisies that is your chronically offline life. Please, this knowledge is a curse. A performative male is just using long shorts and labubus to try and get laid. Damn, Mahalia Chang over at GQ magazine is serving up some seriously hot, crispy harsh browns. But she gets right to the point. According to Wikipedia, because yes, there is an entire dedicated Wikipedia page for this, the performative male, also known as the performative man or matcha man, yeah, no, I'm not calling them that, is apparently the next evolution of the 2010s soft boy, a hipster variant who seems interested in female-dominated hobbies or exhibits behavior associated with femininity. Much like the pirates of the 17th century, however, they are only in it for the booty.
If you drop one single slice of me booty, I'll have your booty!
It sure would be nice if somebody made a dedicated Wikipedia page for me, for the benefit of the general public, of course. I've been doing some intense field research about this performative male phenomenon, which is what we in the biz call looking at my phone on the toilet until I can't feel my legs anymore. According to the data I collected, traits associated with being a performative male include having a mustache, having a Letterboxd account, consuming matcha in any form, choosing milk alternatives, carrying a tote bag, believing in astrology, listening to music made by women, specifically Loewe, Biba, Doobie, or Claro, owning physical media like CDs, cassettes, or records, carrying menstrual products, wearing wired earbuds, wearing thrifted clothes, wearing jewelry, wearing keychain toys, reading books about feminism, reading books by women, reading books outside, reading. You silly sluts. Everyone knows boys don't read. I left a like on the first few performative male videos I scrolled through. I got the joke, but by the 4th, 5th, and 6th, something started to feel off, like when you suddenly realize there's a pebble in your shoe. It's probably nothing.
Anyways, you ladies ever hear of Judith Butler? My phone number is written on the back. But before we continue, I'd like to take a second to talk about today's sponsor, Odoo. In this tiny slice of history between the invention of the wheel and the singularity that will be our doom, creating a website is crucial to help your business stand out. With Odoo's website builder, you don't have to know how to code to get started. Simply answer a few questions about your business and use the intuitive drag and drop interface to build a professional portal in just a few clicks. Whether you're a restaurant owner, independent artist, or a YouTuber trying to soft launch their stand-up comedy career, Odoo has a variety of customizable templates to suit your needs. The best part? Your first site is free for life with unlimited hosting, support, and a custom domain. That's right, when your grandchild introduces you to their polycule of performative AI boyfriends and your last youthful hair follicle turns gray, that website you designed with Odoo will still be there for you. Odoo grows with your business, allowing you to add applications as you expand. Click the link in my description to learn more and try Odoo today. So this is it. This is me taking off my shoe to try to figure out why such a silly trend is bothering me so much. Oh, a lot of these TikToks are formatted in the exact same way, a clueless performative male minding his own performative business while filmed from afar, usually at a cafe. Please, buying your latte at a cafe? I only make mine at home with matcha fresh from the green-dusted bosom of the motherland, a house in the heart of Kyoto owned by a blind 90-year-old woman. She only sells to locals, so you either have to have a friend on the inside or hazard a potentially problematic impression. Her other senses are heightened, so you really gotta commit. I can quit whenever I want! This is a very tired, I mean tried and true technique, the format of the modern freak show. Our job as the audience is to gawk and squawk at his audacity while throwing peanut shells between the bars of the cage we are also trapped in. There are so many of these, and most of them are, I mean, it's pretty obvious after a few seconds that they're fake. It's supposed to be satire friends or the account owner themselves dressing up for the bit. I mean, surely the average TikTok user has the bare minimum amount of intelligence to realize, so performative. Who does he think he's fooling? I'm so irritated. Who actually reads books outside? Imagine him trying matcha for the first time, trying to find the page he's lost in his book with the labubus on his bag that his girlfriend, hopefully that's the case, but I fear it's performative. Whether or not the videos are real is less important to me than the amount of people who seem very comfortable with the idea that they are. Surveilling each other in a surveillance state seems like a little bit of a roll-up beanie on a roll-up beanie, don't you think? Zoe Hecht over at Teen Vogue says, living in Los Angeles, I see performative males everywhere. The whole appearance, from the clothes to the accessories, is what makes the performative male easily identifiable. Huh. You see, I thought we were calling out men for being manipulative. How are you visually identifying that? Are you scanning them as you walk by with one of those metal detector wands they use at the airport to check their purity of heart? Are you lugging around a big rock with a sword in it and challenging them to give it a yank to prove they're worthy enough to opt for oat milk? While there are plenty of comedy skits where the performative male character explicitly disrespects their date,
I'm almost done with this chapter. I only read books by females. I'm opening up a woman-only pronoun-free coffee shop.
Oh, that's interesting.
Excuse me, I'm talking right now, sweetie.
Wait, that was not talk. What?
or clips of performative male contestants giving melodramatic speeches.
I am here for the woman!
They make me so angry!
Why should I be the winner when the real winner are the women we made along the way?
A majority of performative male content doesn't have this context. They just kind of show a dude existing, and you can really see commenters struggle with this. All the jokes about being a performative feminist just make me feel like I look performative for just doing things I normally do. Well, this is about the ones that pretend, so what's the issue? Like 99% of them are pretending, it's not just some. I do/did so much of this type of stuff, but not because I'm performative. The point is that this isn't even their actual personalities. It's just a facade. It's for the guys who pretend to be into these things just to get interest from girls. I want to dress like a performative man so bad because I love that style, but then people will just call me one. Don't worry, people will be able to tell. Yeah, but how are we supposed to know just by looking at people? Vibes, bro. Great job, guys. Y'all get full credit on this week's discussion board assignment. One post, one response. You did it. You can see where the confusion is happening. The conversation has drifted from the performance itself to the props. And since there's nothing inherently wrong with the props, everything gets very arbitrary. This is a silly example, but look at this caption. POV, you realize you're a performative male. That sentence is almost an oxymoron, isn't it? If you realize you're performing, you weren't consciously performing in the first place. There's something really interesting that was said by the winner of the Seattle Performative Male Contest.
So how do you feel about the competition?
Like the other people?
Yeah.
I don't know. See, everyone else here is being performative. This is me.
This is you.
This is the real me.
This is the real me, he says, while looking like everyone else there. But how do we know that? And what's the difference? How to spot a performative male out in the wild. How to spot a performative male? Look for a tote bag. If you see a man with a matcha latte, run. At what point are we just policing a weirdly specific aesthetic, trying to suss out the imposter? That was an Among Us reference for you 12-year-old. The fixation on matcha is especially weird to me. There's this recurring joke where the performative male character spits out his latte because he secretly hates it. Guys, it's tea. Is it really that crazy to think that a lot of people like tea? We fought wars over that shit. China's been on the hype train since the 7th century. Bro, look at Emperor Taizong. He's performatively drinking matcha. Guys, stop. I genuinely like the taste. White people just get a little excited when we realize that we can make money off of something Asian people have been doing for centuries. You know, chai, yoga, etc. Matcha's in right now, but ube is next on the shopping block. Sorry, Filipinos, it's your turn. Better start stockpiling. Can I submit wasabi as our next cultural flavor obsession? I like my men like I like my wasabi flavored peas. Hot, a lot of them, and making me cry. I hate myself! I know that in the eyes of many, my she-woman man-haters club card has been punched enough times to get a free side of fries, but some of the responses to this performative male trend have really bummed me out.
I really thought the performative male stuff was cute at first. People are, you know, having competitions, who's the most performative, poking fun at themselves. And then I started getting some troll comments on YouTube. One on a video about my husband changing his style, another just a friend talking about what they got in Tokyo. And it was like, oh, this is so performative, or like, you turned him into a performative male.
I was walking downtown in the city I live nearby. I have just a very basic fit and this cool bag. And some woman came up to me and she just kind of came up to me and was like, hey, just so you know, what you're doing is performative.
So, did we get those pesky fake feminists yet? Like, surely the joke has gone too far at this point. Can we keep the comment section off the crosswalk? I don't want TikTok behavior in my neighborhood. Don't make me an ally of the HOA.
Let me enjoy my matcha at my tote bag. I've been doing this since 2020.
POV, you're a man trying to read in public, but then remember it's performative. God forbids a man buy flowers without being called performative. You may think I'm being performative by reading on the subway platform. Little do you know I haven't understood a single page of this book and desperately just want to finish so I can start something new. You can say, well, if they're not being performative, they shouldn't care what people think. But that's not how humans work. Especially young humans. Realizing I can't get a girlfriend, so I turn to a performative guy. You're 15! Worry about how you're gonna perform on that Algebra 2 exam next week. You only have a few more years until adulthood. Play as much Minecraft as possible. Let me get this straight. The actual performative male can easily discard his disguise and move on. The men who are just being themselves are now suddenly having their intentions interrogated. Everyone else is highly discouraged from completely innocuous and sometimes objectively good behavior. What exactly was the point of all this again? I think we can all agree that there's a difference between intent and impact. The intended target of this trend was a misogynistic male manipulator crafting a completely inauthentic persona to trick women into sleeping with him. But as the TikTokification of social commentary dictates, the scope of scrutiny is now widened to include any guy who looks like that, which is still a relatively small percentage of the population because no, Poppy Sowerby of the Times, men by and large are not abandoning macho for matcha. They're mostly listening to Joe Rogan and they probably think matcha is gay or something. Also, why did your parents name you like a delicious pastry? You sound like something I could buy at my local bakery. You sound like you have a light flaky crust with a soft yet structured center. You sound like if I presented you to Paul Hollywood, he would look me in the eyes, shake my hand firmly, and say good job in a fatherly tone, at which point I'd probably start crying but also feel strangely aroused. Ah! F***! What were we talking about? Lattes! I feel like some of y'all live in a different world than I do because if we're truly having a performative male epidemic, why are marketing teams still using military terms to get men to practice basic hygiene?
Built to clear, build up, and maintain order. Superior grade. We've got the word defense a ton, not for clowns, right? So if you're not a real man that uses an axe, you're a clown. You can't have this product. Bloody knuckles. Don't worry, brother. It's not girly to put things on your hands. This scrubber is tactical. Rainforest rapids. There are dangerous rapids, so it's not just enjoying the rainforest because it's beautiful, but there are dangerous rapids.
Me when I tactically apply my whiskey-scented skin defense with gunmetal packaging on my bloody knuckles. Me when I return to the control center for military simulation training. Me whenever I maneuver to the bathroom to unload cargo and do a perimeter sweep of my 6. Ellie Bramley over at The Guardian says, quote, "All of this posturing has one end goal, to look good in the eyes of progressive women." But walk with me for a second. Actually, you're gonna need to sit down for this one. What if I said, so what? There is a bitter part of me that has enjoyed this performative male trend because in a lot of ways it feels like revenge. After all, isn't this just the gender-bent version of, check out that chick wearing a Nirvana shirt, bet she can't name 5 songs, up top! Is she a pick-me? Is she a cool girl? Either way, her enjoyment of basic mainstream activities like watching sports, reading science fiction, and listening to alternative rock is constantly measured against an unbalanced scale of authenticity and f***ability, her value derived from her proximity to masculine interests, as long as she's smart enough to stay out of the way and look sexy doing it. Welcome to womanhood. It's spelled H-E-double-L for some reason. Checkouts at 7:30 a.m. and there's a surprise resort fee. Go f*** yourself. But I want to counter that feeling with another perspective. Isn't it a positive thing that there's incentive for men to take women's interests and values into account if they want to reproduce, you know, as opposed to most of human history? Isn't it a sign of some progress that there is any social pressure at all to engage with media made by women? You and her dad can't just play The Price is Right for her pussy anymore. You gotta, like, treat her like a person or something. There's a quote from Kurt Vonnegut in his book Mother Night that I read with my performative book club last year. We are what we pretend to be, so we must be careful about what we pretend to be. Some men are pretending to be well-dressed, well-read feminists. Oh no, that's so much worse than the alternative, which is them not doing any of that. If the performative male trend causes even one insufferable asshole to not buy bell hooks to impress his Hinge date, in my opinion, that's a net loss. Who knows? He might actually end up reading it. The timing of this is really weird, right? In a period of massive conservative regression pushing back against scientific consensus in academic institutions, a trend like this feels like a psyop to shame men back into line, to keep them uneducated and unempathetic. A poll from NBC paints a very different picture than that painted by Poppy Seed Sourdough of the Times.
What we found was a major gender gap among Gen Z. We talk about a gender gap. We see this in all age categories. It was even more dramatic among Gen Z, where Gen Z women, much more anti-Trump, much more progressive than Gen Z men. We asked them a very interesting question about how they define success in life. And what we found was when you break it down by gender and by politics, the divide between these two groups in just the basic question of success in life was profound.
I think sometimes what's more important than observing the impact of a joke or even in what direction it's punching in is paying attention to who else is laughing. Because they might not be laughing for the same reason you are. I started to notice that a surprising majority of people weighing in on this performative male phenomenon on TikTok were men. And they had some very interesting tips on how to identify them.
There's a lot of performative things males do only when women are watching. Going the extra mile to own or even think about owning a labubu, bro. That word shouldn't even be in your vocabulary, to be honest. Mind you, he's only gonna wear it in libraries, specifically in the feminist literature section. As soon as you start seeing him read books in public, that's the performative final boss. He's not even gonna read the cover of the book until he gets to a coffee shop. Mind you, he's gonna order matcha and make subtle glances at the barista in front of him across the counter. They're wearing glasses, specifically ones that he thrifted inside doors. And if he has a niche hobby like knowing how to play the ukulele, you're dealing with a master manipulator.
Damn, we're real strict around here. Anything else off limits?
If you want to tell if a guy's performative or not, there's one thing you gotta do. You gotta ask him about some, like, actual man stuff.
Okay. What's actual man stuff?
I fit the archetype. I listen to Claro. I wear selvage denim. I read, right? Performative man archetype right there. But I'm not. Ask me about fantasy football. I will start talking and I will not stop. Like, look at how many of these mock drafts I've done.
Sports. Of course. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. This is a comedy creator I really like, but even in his sketch, the two competing performative males admit to each other that what they really want is to go out and get a beer, because that's what men do, damn it!
What do you say we just grab a beer? That'd be awesome.
Boy, turn that Claro off and grab you a beer. I know that's right, brother. Girl, listen, Claro. Boy, drink beer. Really innovative stuff. This entire comedy sketch is based on the premise of a group of men staging an intervention for their performative friend as he tries to convince them that he has an appropriate level of interest in masculine hobbies.
Why are you wearing wired earbuds? Because I'm listening to like podcasts and stuff.
No, he's not. I'm in his gym. He's listening to Claro.
Oh my god. Yes, I am. Look, I'll show you.
And what are you drinking, by the way? What's in that cup?
Black coffee.
There's no way that's
pour it.
My dad used to call me a performative male all the time, but he used the term woman. Oh, my dad just called me okay. I'm getting it now.
Super easy to tell when somebody's hobbies are performative. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, let me give you a quick example. The other day, I saw a guy with a Miffy AirPods case. And if you don't know what Miffy is, it's basically this bunny that's super popular amongst girls. So obviously when I saw this guy, I only had one thing that came to my mind. Bro is looking for hoes, cause why else would you have that shit on you? You are bullshitting me if you tell me as a straight guy that you're into Miffy.
If you like this bunny, you're fucking gay, dude. 180,000 likes. That's awesome! That's so awesome!
Oh my gosh. Hey yo, your headphones aren't even plugged in.
I'm on a call.
With who, your boyfriend?
Excuse me! You made me go my girl!
Get it? It's funny because he's like gay. Wearing his gay hat and reading his gay book. You get it? I think I've found the pebble in my shoe. Any man who isn't straight or even slightly effeminate would probably have found it a lot sooner. This performative male trend is just aggressively reinforcing traditional gender roles with a woke cloak. Unrelated, I want to talk about pumpkin spice. The anti-pumpkin spice latte campaign propagandized my young mind so successfully that to this day the "I'm not like other girls" fear response reactivates from the deepest recesses of my psyche if I'm within 1,000 feet of a coffee shop during autumn. You think I'm exaggerating? Well, let's take a quick time machine trip to jog your memory.
Fuck pumpkin spice. It's artificial bullshit that has come to mean absolutely nothing, and that represents what is essentially a void in your personal taste and likely your entire character. When you buy this faux exclusive food garbage, you fuel the fire that keeps square flavor scientists vying to force feed you more desperate, cloying, chemically laden snack trends. Shrug emoticon. But wait, there's more. There isn't any pumpkin in pumpkin spice shit.
The cultural obsession with hating pumpkin spice was often justified as a critique of overconsumption and unethical marketing strategies. Because, of course, this was the only product contributing to those issues at the time. Yep. As strange as it may seem, only things that become popular with young women have negative effects on society and the environment. Nope, not that, and not that either. It's almost like a lot of people aren't willing to put in the time to engage in activism, but they still want the brownie points. So they latch on to a simple byproduct of a larger issue instead of the issue itself, as a socially acceptable vehicle for their petty grievances. Now any hate comment they leave is part of a holy crusade. They wouldn't pathologize a magpie for lining its nest with a few shiny trinkets, but they're happy to allow the burden of an entire broken economy rest on the shoulders of a single, overworked, overstimulated animal on the other side of the screen. Who cares if it actually causes any positive change as long as your personal moral superiority is exalted? Behold, I am righteous, I know I am, for you are not. L ratio next. Oh! I think I blacked out again. What were we talking about? Labubu's. Where the hell did the little bastard go? Through all of the intellectual posturing, the anti-PSL campaign had a palpable hatred for a very particular woman, an established character with accessories and behaviors that complemented her drink of choice. Sound familiar? Today's matcha is yesterday's pumpkin spice. Today's performative is the flip side of yesterday's basic. It operates on the same logic. Liking bad, dumb things is natural for women. If a man likes it, he must have ulterior motives or be, you know, gay? Because only women like bad, dumb things. Women's participation doesn't change this, by the way. They were some of the anti-PSL campaign's most decorated soldiers back in the day. I will never recover from those webcomics. This is why the performative male trend isn't revenge for women. It's the sequel. What started out as a friendly warning amongst women about the dangers lurking in the deep end of the dating pool has been mostly hijacked by men who have made femininity itself the punchline, just repackaging the coping and seething of the girlless incel goon. She still won't let you hit, bro. Somehow, while trying to pick out the wolf in sheep's clothing, we really got tangled up in the wool of it all. Now the sheep are on trial, the wolves are in the jury box, and for some reason we're still laughing. It's actually kind of a perfect win for men. They don't have to examine their own behavior, they get to make fun of things women like, which they were doing already, and they get to put down other men to reaffirm their own masculinity while being praised for how authentic they are in comparison. But are they? A few months ago, I made a video about the internet personality Ashton Hall, whose coaching content, if you care, has since devolved into endless self-parody. In that video, I did use the word performative. It's masochistic. It's performative. It achieves nothing outside of this vague promise that it will make you more of a man. What's so interesting about comparing the response to Ashton Hall to this recent performative male stereotype, though, is that while most people recognized the absurd extremes, few questioned his authentic enjoyment of the core lifestyle he promoted. Of course man like do business call, hang out with hot chick, drive fast car, eat steak, and have big muscle. That what man do? I mean, what if Ashton's true calling was musical theater? Why do we question matcha, long shorts, and labubus, but not Americanos, fleece vests, and pre-workout? Are you trying to tell me that men's default settings are day trading and FanDuel fresh out the womb? Why do we only accuse men of being performative when they're doing things women happen to like? There was a book that kept getting brought up in this discussion and even mentioned in the criticism section of the wiki page, the exact kind of book that a performative male might tote around in his tote, Gender Trouble by Judith Butler. So I bought it. First off, hey philosophy majors, stop casually recommending this shit. You psychopaths! Do you understand how much effort it took for my social media poison brain to navigate this linguistic minefield? I think I had to read each page at least 3 to 4 times. Miss Judy B spit in my mouth, beat me over the head with theory using words I didn't know how to pronounce, and I said, "Thank you, ma'am?" In this deceptively small book, Butler investigates the works of other philosophers, such as Luce Irigaray, Simone de Beauvoir, and Monique Wittig in their attempts to define gender and how it relates to the goals of the feminist movement. Butler encourages us to view gender not as a pre-existing objective reality, but as binary categories constructed by our juridical systems and hedged in by compulsory heterosexuality. And not even necessarily constructed well, more just kind of bumbled together by what she calls a paternal law, laying tracks just far enough ahead to maintain order. Even the concept of sex, largely agreed to be a simple biological fact, gets kind of blurry when you zoom out. I mean, humans could have just as easily created these important social divides between blonde versus brunette, or blue eyes versus brown eyes, or tall versus small, instead of this genitalia versus this other genitalia. And that's not even including the complications introduced by the existence of intersex people. It all gets kind of subjective when you start to think about it. Butler's ultimate conclusion is that gender itself is performative. Quote, that the gendered body is performative suggests that it has no ontological status apart from the various acts which constitute its reality. AKA, you don't do things because you're a certain gender. The things that you do create the illusion of gender. And according to Butler, what we do is heavily influenced by a need to survive in systems that regularly punish those who fail to do their gender right. Our gender performance is a response to an endless stream of demands to be a good mother, to be a heterosexually desirable object, to be a fit worker, to avoid getting made fun of on TikTok. Whether men are reading the bell jar or playing fantasy football, they are performing. So are you, and so am I. From flappers to hipsters, there has always been a public outcry if enough people start violating gender norms.
Girls are wearing pants now. Boys are growing their hair long. Missy, that skirt is too short.
Trying to put an ethical spin on it doesn't make it any more intellectual than the scolding of your grandmother. We want to believe that bad people come with warning labels, that we can protect ourselves by profiling drinks and dissecting dress codes. But that never takes us very far. I can totally see why a lot of feminists would want to latch on to this concept of a performative male to remind women to never let their guard down. At least not fully. But even amongst her fellow esteemed philosophers, Butler often had to point out where their rhetoric veered into bioessentialism, homophobia, and ironically, even misogyny in their attempts to achieve gender equality. Sometimes what you think is a guy trying to perform for women is actually someone taking the first baby steps to performing womanhood. Sometimes the person you're unintentionally making fun of is yourself. Here's my grand thesis. This trend sucks. Any awareness it might have raised about dishonesty in dating has been outweighed by the cons. AMAB people are mocked for experimenting with their gender expression, or even dressing slightly alt. Women are influenced to view those things as inherently suspicious and are no safer for it. Bad men don't need a matcha latte to hurt women. In fact, if we allow men to drive each other back into insulated, male-dominated spaces where their prejudices won't be challenged, that's less safe for everyone. I'm not excusing the behavior, but I want to open a path out. The performative male feels like yet another side effect of a self-destructive hypervigilance I've noticed increasing in my peers. A constant need to question the intentions of others and prove that yours are pure. You're not one of them. You're self-aware. You're in on the joke, performing how not performative you are, which is, I think, the most performative thing I've ever heard of. I've gotten countless videos on my FYP from every gender on every topic with a caption along the lines, "You can always tell when someone is doing blank performatively and not as a reflection of their true spirit." No, you can't. And why do you f***ing care? Back in 2024, Allegra Handelsman wrote an article about Gen Z reading performatively. A guy I know just posted an Instagram story with the famous pink cover of Simone de Beauvoir's The Woman Destroyed, I assume with the hope of pretty girls sliding into his DMs. I wonder if he even opened the book. According to my friend Noah, a fellow female writer, the main issue with hot men and paperbacks is every time I see a man read, I am utterly convinced they are pretending. She ends by acknowledging her hypocrisy as she chooses a book that's more impressive to post on her own account. This is a miserable way to live. Just read. And if you're really that worried that somebody else is pretending to read, maybe talk to them about the book for like 5 minutes, I guess? Maybe. Sometimes, for the sake of our own sanity, we need to operate with the mindset that if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, assume it's a duck. Until it starts acting like a duck. There is no point in psychologically torturing yourself or others to achieve some kind of authenticity, nirvana, smells like Teen Spirit, heart-shaped box, come as you are, love buzz, and dumb, by the way, a paradoxical paradise where you can somehow be constantly, painfully aware of every single assumption someone might project onto you, but also be your completely uninhibited self. This is a game without a win condition, and it's going to be extremely damaging to young people. They won't stop performing. They'll just perform in safer, disinterested, and detached ways. They'll say things like, "It's not that deep, bro," and "You're doing too much," more often. There won't be less posers, just less weirdos, which sucks for me. Because who's gonna watch my videos? So buy a t-shirt you think is cool and look up the band afterwards. Do your makeup badly. Make ugly art. Write stupid stories. Read books that make you uncomfortable. Sing even if it sounds terrible. Dance even if you can't find the beat. Be nice to people who don't deserve it. Perform, perform, perform. We are all performing. Throw in a couple of fun costume changes before the curtain falls. The person performing as the critic in the audience has chosen the most boring part of all.